are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast. I'm Larck on Twitter. Here to talk to you today about everything Auburn football related, because due to a War Report video that came out today, Mike G interviewed Hugh Freeze. And Hugh Freeze, I guess, officially announced that Jackson Arnold will be your starting quarterback in the 2025 season. Of course, this is not major news. This is not like breaking news. This is not, would start considering Auburn the national championship contender type of news. This is everything we expected to hear from Hugh Freeze going into the spring, leaving the spring, going into summer, leaving the summer, going into fall, and going to that first game versus Baylor. Everyone and their mother knew that as soon as Jackson Arnold transferred to Auburn, that was your starting quarterback for the 2025 season, at least the start of it. So what I wanted to do is kind of talk about what a successful season for Jackson Arnold looks like going into this year. Of course, Auburn has not shied away from bringing in transfer portal quarterbacks before to get the job. You look back at Robbie Ashford in 2022, Peyton Thorne last year. You go back to just transfers in general. I mean, you got Jarrett Stidham transferring from Baylor, Nick Marshall transferring from JUCO, and of course Cam Newton. All those guys are transfers, some of them with very mixed reviews, some of them with very raving reviews. So where does Jackson Arnold fit in on that spectrum? We'll have to wait and see, but I wanted to give through a list of 5 things that I think Jackson Arnold has to do, or really just like, what do I want to see from Jackson Arnold to prove to me that he was the best pickup or best quarterback Auburn could have got. So you bring in a guy who's a 5-star plus quarterback, and of course, all the talent in the world, arm talent, dual threat quarterback who, had a lot of high points, a lot of low points at Oklahoma. A lot of that was because of, kind of getting stranded by yourself because Oklahoma was not good last year. Auburn did, in fact, lose to that team, but you were down to your wide receiver 6 by like week 3. The training staff didn't know what they were doing. You had a whole coaching staff that didn't know what they were doing either. And it's a whole revamped look over there in Boomer Sooner territory. But Jackson Arnold now coming to the Plains, and massive step up in wide receiver talent. From what you saw at Oklahoma to what you're seeing now for Auburn. Of course, one of the best wide receiver rooms in the SEC, one of the best wide receiver rooms in the country, top to bottom. Every single one of these guys could be the starting wide receiver, but we pretty much already know who it's going to be. But with that, I mean, that kind of goes into my first thing is I need to see these wide receivers get a fair share of the football. Watching how the ball gets shared will be not only great for Jackson Arnold, but for the fans in general. When you have guys like Cam Coleman and Malcolm Simmons and Perry Thompson, you bring in Bryce Kane up from the red shirts, and then you add in guys like Eric Singleton, Horatio Fields, and guys like Sam Turner from high school who came in early enrollee and balled out. You got so many hands in the pot for the football. Of course, you got to bring in the tight ends. You got to bring the running backs. So when it comes to like passing plays, I really think that you need to see this ball get shared more, because I kind of look back at a few times in Auburn history, or just where a wide receiver has become, or a quarterback has become too reliant on a wide receiver, either in a game or a year setting, and it doesn't go well. I kind of look at that year in 20. I think it was 20. Is it either 2020 or it was 2019? It was one of the Bo Nix years, and he became so self-reliant on Seth Williams that he ended up just like throwing a bunch of picks in that game because he could not get it out of his head that Seth Williams was the best player on the team, even though he had other wide receivers that could have got the ball for him. So I go into this season and I see all the talent. I just want to see every single one of them ball out. I mean, this is kind of a selfish pick because this wide receiver room is so good that I think it would just be a disservice to them to not see everybody get a share of the ball. I mean, I'm looking at every single guy getting like, what's like the average in terms of completions? Peyton Thorne had 200 completions last year. Let them all get 50. Let them all get 50. Sorry, I said 6. 200 divided by 6. Let them all get 30 something, 30 point something, whatever it is. Because I think it just shows growth just to get as many wide receivers in there as possible. You're keeping them healthy, keeping them bouncing around in and out. You have that much talent that you're able to do that. You're able to sub guys in and out and not skip a beat. And that's just the key to having a great offense, is having guys who can come out when need be and not skip a beat. But again, might be a selfish pick. Going into Jackson Arnold's year last year, talking about how some of his games went, some of the bigger games that he played in last season. I need to see a less reliance on running the ball himself. So Jackson Arnold is an athlete. He had a lot of games last year where he was relying on how well he could run the football. I think Oklahoma was doing the same thing. And of course, the major example of this is Alabama. Now, you're not going to get a game like that every week unless you're like a Lamar Jackson archetype quarterback where you are just that much more athletic than every single person on the field at any given point. Jackson Arnold could not make plays with his arms against Alabama. He had to run the football. Now you come in, and again, it goes back to the talent with the wide receiver core. You come into Auburn, you better wide receiver core. I think that you're going to see a lot of Jackson Arnold's legs going into the season. I don't think you're going to see, seeing him locked in the pocket, see him kind of trapped in there, not really free to move around. I think you're going to have a lot of plays centered around Jackson Arnold's ability to run. But if you look at Oklahoma last year, a lot of games were, hey, let's watch Jackson Arnold run for 3 hours. That's pretty much how some of those games went. And you go about like Peyton Thorne last year, about 300 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, and for his rushing abilities. And then you go back to his previous year, where I think he had like 515 yards rushing, which should never be the case. Peyton Thorne, not the athlete that Jackson Arnold is. So, I wouldn't be like angry if he had 500 yards rushing, but I think that does play a major factor in how Auburn's offense looks if the quarterback is needed that badly to run the football. So I think going into 2025, I think we need to see a lot more of Jackson Arnold, the thrower, rather than Jackson Arnold, the runner. So I think that plays a lot, or it goes well into how I think the game should be built around Jackson Arnold's abilities. I think run plays should be ran correctly in a timely manner, but I don't think you should have a whole game plan centered around, well, let's watch Jackson Arnold run. That's what Oklahoma did not bode well for them last year. And they had to do a whole factory reset on their offense going into the season. So I want to see Jackson Arnold become more of a throwing quarterback rather than being the guy who has to run the football every other play. Now, going into number 3, that kind of goes into, I have a couple on here that kind of play into Jackson Arnold's last year and Peyton Thorne. I want to see consistent, explosive plays. Now, it's not me saying I need to see like playing college football 25 against like a 5-year-old and they just run 4 verts the entire time. I want to see these wide receivers shine, and I need to make sure a quarterback is able to get that out of them. You go back to Keandre Lambert-Smith last year. A lot of catches that KLS had last year that were explosive plays were off of bad throws. And he got very lucky because those bad throws didn't end up being interceptions. Definitely could have been. But I think when you look at Jackson Arnold going into this year, he has that big arm. And it's all about honing in your abilities when it comes to throwing the deep ball. Whenever it comes down to finding Cam Coleman on a streak, finding a guy like Malcolm Simmons across the middle, Perry Thompson on the outside, getting guys who can make plays the football consistently will be the key here, because you have so much talent around you that can do whatever they want with the football to whoever's trying to tackle them, that it works best in your favor to be able to hone in the accuracy that you kind of struggled with last year in both regards. Peyton Thorne didn't have a bad collegiate percentage, but it definitely did look rough at times. And that goes the same for Jackson Arnold last year at Oklahoma. So just kind of finding your rhythm and getting guys who can do something with the ball and getting it to them accurately consistently. I thought about adding in a completion percentage stat line here, but I just think that's too much of an ask. I mean, you go back to last year, the Heisman candidates were like all up to 70%. 65, 67, 68, I'm fine with all that. That works for me. I don't want to see very low 60s to 50. I don't want to see that whatsoever. Yeah, I think Auburn's going to pass the ball more so they did last year. But I think there's going to be a fair share of running the ball. But I do think that it works best if you're able to get the ball to the receivers. It's the key there. You get more receiving yards if the ball gets to you correctly in a timely manner. But really just kind of finding those plays that can take the top off the defense, that can get momentum in your favor. Something Auburn really missed out on last year. You had a lot of times where the defense got momentum and the offense just absolutely blew it. Iron Bowl comes to mind right away. So Jackson Arnold being able to get the ball to these guys consistently is going to be the icing on the cake there. I mean, you're making sure you're getting them the ball, but also you're making sure the ball's getting to them. So that kind of builds off of each other. Number 2, I have a specific stat line here. I have 2,800 yards. Now, I was doing some research on this. The last time Auburn hit this mark was in 2017, the first year of another transfer portal quarterback. Of course, he almost did it in 2018 as well with Jarrett Stidham. I think that whenever you talk about how pregnant it is that Auburn's offense has a stride to it, it comes down to making sure that your quarterback is getting those plays that he needs to get, making the plays that he needs to have. Peyton Thornton almost hit this margin, off by about 87. I thought about adding the 3,000 margin here, but I think that might just be too much to ask for. I'm not trying to bug too much, but I'm trying to bug a little. Just a little bug. But I think 2,800 yards puts Auburn right in the spot they need to be, because you go into this year and I think 8-4 is like your I don't want to say worst case scenario, but it definitely feels like it. 7-5 at the worst, based on how the schedule looks. If you were everything you are setting yourself up to be, so you go into a year with Jackson Arnold, and he's had a rough couple seasons. I don't say rough couple seasons, a rough season. Getting benched, coming back in, not really playing to his prowess as a high school recruit. I think 2,800 yards kind of matches where I think Auburn's offense should be. Just a perfect balance of running the ball while also getting the ball down the field. And even 2017, I mean, you had Kerryon Johnson to carry that load while having Jarrett Stidham pass the ball for as much as he did. I think 2017 kind of goes into probably one of the best offenses Auburn has had in recent memory. Probably this in that decade of football, where Auburn was consistently one of the better teams in the country, outside of 2 years that no one talks about, 2015, 2013, where those two teams just weren't doing anything. I always say 2013, 2012 is the year I'm meaning, but Jarrett Stidham, again, one of the best quarterbacks in Auburn football history. And Jackson Arnold has all the tools to be in that same category, especially if he has a good enough year and he shows that much progress. I mean, you're talking about a guy who could be a 1-year rental and ship him off to the NFL, and then you got Deuce Knight the next year, which I don't know which case scenario that is. But if you're sending a quarterback to the NFL and you have Deuce Knight right afterwards, I think that's a pretty good case to have. So 2,800 yards is what I'm looking at for Jackson Arnold going into this season. Lastly, and I think this is the key one here, but before we get to that one, we'll go a quick little break, just to keep y'all on edge about what the last one's going to be. I think everyone pretty much understands where I'm going to go with this with Jackson Arnold, but stay tuned and we shall be right back. Are you tired of having to rummage through just clothes after clothes after clothes, looking for something to wear? Are you tired of your friends making fun of you for your terrible fashion sense? Well, do we have the shirt for you? Go to thewarreport.com, get your laptop out and do it right now. Go to the shop and get your very own Feelin' Loopy t-shirt as well as your college loop hat, and you can get both of them for only $25 each. Plus shipping and handling, of course. But with that, now back to your regular scheduled program. 7 merch is available on thewarreport.com. As I said in the commercial, you can go check that out. And second page of the shop, you'll find the College Loop merch. But also, don't forget, that's not even the best way to support the channel. If I had to choose, I would probably say subscribing is the best way to support the channel, liking the video, and commenting. What do you think a successful season for Jackson Arnold looks like going into the 2025 football season? Now, that brings us to number one, which everybody and their mother has mentioned this with Jackson Arnold. I know I have said it quite a few times, but a successful season for Jackson Arnold must include keeping turnovers to a minimum. Last year, he had 3 interceptions. But you look at that on paper and you're like, okay, well, that's not bad. But then you look at the fumbles. He had 9 fumbles last year. Turnover machine in the worst way possible. You don't want that. You want that that nickname as a DB, a linebacker, anybody defensively. As a quarterback, you don't want to be listed as a turnover machine. Now, here's the issue with Auburn football's offense last year. I keep saying Auburn football just to specify this. Auburn's offense was also a turnover machine. One of the worst teams in the country in terms of turnover margin. That kind of just goes to the defense being too good to get any interceptions, but the offense being so bad that they just gave away the football at times. That you lose to Oklahoma because of a pick six. You lost to Cal and Arkansas because you went -5 in the turnover margin. So you go into a year with a quarterback who has had that history before of turning over the football, giving him to an offense that had an issue last year of turning over the football, and a coach who claims to be a quarterback whisperer. So you try to fix and mold the 5-star plus quarterback into being a guy who can get the ball safely to his targets on an offense that struggled doing that last year. It's the missing link. This is what we'll be able to see going into this football season. Of course, I heard a lot of great things about Jackson Arnold in the spring. I never really got to see him throw outside of just like watching a couple of YouTube videos. But from all the intel that I have heard, Jackson Arnold had a very good spring. And you go forward and Deuce Knight, again, another guy, a very good spring. And Deuce Knight's the future. Jackson Arnold is a present, and I think that it should be a good season for Auburn football this year. And I think if Jackson Arnold kind of plays even remotely close to the level that he was recruited to play at, I think you're looking at a very, very good season, not only for Auburn football, but for Jackson Arnold in general. A season I think he desperately needs, just because you get that 5-star plus name like title to you. You get that 5-star title, number 1 quarterback in your recruiting class, kind of stuff, and you have a couple of seasons to forget. You didn't really get to play in the first season. You got to play in a bowl game. You looked okay. And then year 2, you get benched, have turnover prone issues and whatnot. But Jackson Arnold has all the tools to be one of the league's best quarterbacks. And I'm not just meaning SEC, I'm meaning college football. He has all those tools available to him. It's all about, can Hugh Freeze and this Auburn offense unlock those tools? Can he emerge as a top quarterback in the conference by getting the ball to his receivers safely, consistently making plays, leaving the pocket, not because he wants to, but because he would need to, either that for a play or trying to avoid a sack. I just don't want to see Jackson Arnold trying to do too much or being given plays where he has to do too much. And I mean, again, all the talent in the world. Again, I will die on the hill of 8-4. It'll bite me in the butt, and if it doesn't happen. But believe me, I think Auburn's chances at 8-4 are high. And I might need to grab the book and glasses. I'll hold off for right now. But I think that Jackson Arnold will end up being the one of the best transfer portal pickups at the quarterback position, because of the turnaround that you could expect to see from Auburn football, going from a non-bowl eligible team to being a team that should be able to take out some giants, or should at least be a nuisance enough to make it tough. I mean, looking at teams like A&M, Georgia, Bama, even Oklahoma, I thought that to just being a college ball like blue blood in Oklahoma. And being able to finally compete at their level, like at Georgia and Alabama, and get these talented rosters that you can turn into contenders. So I think Jackson Arnold was a great pickup. And if he has a good year this year, I think he'll have an even better year if he comes back, and kind of play it by ear from there. But let me know, what do you think a good season for Jackson Arnold looks like? And of course, let me know what you think of your prediction record. Do you think Auburn football will be going 8-4 like I do? Do you think it's worse? Do you think it's less? Let me know in the comment section below. Of course, don't forget to follow us right here on YouTube, where you should subscribe to the channel and get us to 1,000 subscribers. We're getting so close to that milestone. It'll be super cool to reach that very soon. And of course, check us out on social media platforms, all of them: Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, the works. All those the College Loop audio versions of the show, Spotify podcast, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music. Of course, you can find me on Instagram at Dylan Larck, DYLENLARCK. Find me on Twitter at your boy the Tank, at YABOY the Tank. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Can't overstate that enough. Appreciate every single one of y'all that have already done so and are consistently following along with what we're doing over here at the College Loop. Big things to come, big announcements to come as well. Still trying to fill out some holes that I'm trying to get. Got a project I'm working on, kind of building off of something I started when I was 17, and now trying to turn it into something even better than it was before. So I'll let y'all know when that comes out. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the installment of the College Loop podcast. And as always, War Eagle.